Hey, as we know, life is full of surprises, both good and bad, and the day-to-day journey is full of unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes it's hard for us to see our way through. Beyond the norm and mundane, or where unscripted dreams live, join us for thought-provoking discussions and interviews to help us navigate through the fog and create our own path. We are the Unscripted Dreams Podcast, operating outside the margins to motivate and inspire our audience. So, welcome back. So, today's episode is literally titled "There Will Always Be Controversy." And this is a very important topic to me, just because it's inevitable. As much as people like to dodge and duck and dodge controversy, it doesn't matter who you are, it's going to find you one way or another. I feel like it's very inevitable. It's part of human nature and it will always exist in society. So, everyone's going to have differences in opinions, beliefs, values, and that's going to occur in any field or industry that you participate in or a part of or what you represent. So you stuck with it. What you got to say, Marcus?
It's an interesting topic just because it always exists, and I've gone through many of discussions about different various things on different topics all across various spectrums. And what a waste of time! What a waste of time, because people are just looking for something. And I just have way more important things to do than be caught up in everybody's beefs
Oh,
and drama. So, um,
absolutely.
like,
So I
I
guess
don't,
with
yeah,
that being said, man, I'm gonna start off asking you questions then. How about that? So when you think about differences in beliefs and values, man, I guess let the people know from your perspective, man, like how would you deal with that? So like say you're in a professional setting and clearly people have differences in beliefs and values. So a perfect example would be something along the lines of politics. So like how would you handle or how would you move through somebody that's openly sharing their political views and may even be trying to get you to you know see where they're coming from.
yeah. This happens. This happens a lot. I just want to take let's go back a few decision points here
Okay.
as far as that question. So one, my thing, right? If I'm working for people, if I'm making that decision, I'm usually trying to work with people who don't care about that stuff, or they know it's not a part of the mission. Like if the mission is to do politics, I need to go work in politics. Like that's what I need to do. I need to go work in government or something. Of course, there's going to be like office politics and things like that. That's different. That's a different genre. I'm going to say, but as far as like people bringing that, that left, right, middle, whatever they're at, somebody trying to pull me into that. See what people might mistake about me is that I don't really care if you don't like me or not. So that's my thing. So if you try to pull me into the conversation and try to see what I feel or what I think, I'm just gonna not engage in that conversation. I'm gonna remove myself. And certain people by nature, right there, they like conflict. So they'll take you wanting to remove yourself from the situation as, like that's controversy right there. Like the fact that you're trying to remove yourself from the situation. But at that point, I'm just gonna walk away and I'm gonna just let those people think what they want to think. And my goal is, if you're at work and something like that happens, then for me, that's just more motivation to work on my own business because it's my business, it's my rules, and I don't have to deal with that nonsense. So that's my answer to really that is that yeah, people aren't gonna. The thing is that once people understand that you don't want to be bothered with that, like I've sat in rooms that people will talk about politics for like an hour or two or the whole conversation. And then I don't say anything. I'll just sit there for 2 hours and not say anything. And somebody will be like, oh, well, what do you think? And I say, I don't want to talk about any of this that you guys are talking about. And I might say it nicer. I might not say it as nice as it comes off, but people are going to take that how they're going to take it. And I'm going to keep it moving. Because the thing is that regardless if the thing is that they don't know my political view, so you can't pick up, like, you can't pick a fight with me because you don't know, because I don't tell you.
Right.
So we can still do business. You just might not like me, but we can still do business because you don't know, you know? So, but Joe, maybe you're a bit more diplomatic. So how would you approach these scenarios?
Honestly, change the subject. I wouldn't even say much. Honestly, I think that would be the quickest way to really handle that. So if someone starts talking about how they praise whether they're um, Republican, or they praise whether they're Democratic or Green Party. I mean, who cares? We came here for one purpose, and that was to work. uh, and the rest is history. So, as far as I'm concerned, you can say something and I'll let you have the floor and say your piece. But as far as it's concerned, I'm not getting tied up in that jargon, that bull jive. So, what I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to change the subject and be like, hey, how about them Lakers, man? Did you see that game? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm literally that type of person where I'm just going to change that. I'm not even going to acknowledge what you said because, it's a lot of times that could be a trap, you know? Sometimes people want to
That's right.
find a reason not to like you sometimes. Some people want to find a reason where never mind what they said, but they have everything you said documented and they can use that against you. So sometimes you have to be careful about openly having an opinion about things outside of the work you do. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing that really matters as far as my opinion is with the work I do, not what's outside of it. So you have to be focused and be mindful of that. Be sharp. I understand you got friends on the job and I know you got friends in professional settings, but this is literally how that division comes in. You're too buddy buddy with somebody and then they think something sweet and then they get all offended or blown out of proportion just because you see things differently than them. Or, there's a lot of situations like that has happened to me before where somebody looks at me different just because I'm not willing to have a certain opinion on certain things. And they feel bent out of shape because they're like, dang, I thought we were cool. And I'm like, we're cool. But at the same time, why does it matter, if I like something that you don't like? Or why does it matter if I do like something, That's a personal opinion. So, some people can't differentiate from that. And that's where it becomes a concern of like, should you really like be going down this road? So to give people the benefit of the doubt, just like I do with older people, with me being a person of color, I literally keep those conversations brief and short because there's a lot of things that they can say where I'll be looking at them different. So that's why I kind of keep that short, professional, and as upright as much as possible. I try to keep it as wholesome as possible because I don't want you to get too comfortable where you're going to slip up and say something that I'm not going to like. And I'm definitely have to demonstrate from that point forward. So sometimes you have to be like that so you can save people from themselves. So, yeah, man, I got another one for you though, Marcus. So when we think about freedom of expression, right? A lot of people have this ideation of freedom of expression being whatever they feel like it being. So they feel like they can do whatever the heck they want. And sure, you can, but they still don't take in consideration about consequences. So a great one would be if we talked about the most recent news in the headlines is someone that is a professional basketball player. I know we mentioned him before, but this is the second instance where this person definitely brandished a gun on a video. Not saying that he recorded it this time because he didn't. A buddy of his recorded it and he just got caught, right? So I guess as far as freedom of expression, do you think that this type of person should not be penalized, or John Morant should not be penalized for brandishing a gun, even though, it wasn't him recording himself this time? Like, how would you, I guess, first of all, how would you define freedom of expression? And do you think there really should be consequences for somebody with that kind of status and they do something that's, I guess, controversial?
So it's a good question, Joe, because there's different ways in which I see it. For one, I got my own problems. So like, and that's
Amen
so
to that.
that's gonna be my first answer. But also, like, there's perception. So there's perception. Like, people have firearms. You just don't see them.
Yep.
You just don't. Not everybody shows them. But depending on who you work for, who you work for, if you have your own business, you can do whatever you want. You can make as many videos as you want. But if you work for somebody, there's a responsibility. If you have contracts, like, there's things when you work for people that if you do something, out of character that's going to tarnish the business, they can fire you. So what what it matters is that, like, if you work for a company that's like anti-alcohol, and then you post a video on social media with you drinking a pint, like, there's conflict. There's a conflict there, and you might lose your job. It's the same thing. Like, it's just that being in that position, in that role, there's a certain level of responsibility that he has to be able to maintain his endorsements, maintain certain clauses that are in his contract. And he's just doing things that are bringing that into question. That's it. That's it. The fact that I know this much about this is kind of sad for me, because I got other stuff to focus on. And this is a thing that really, like, to talk about is like, this man's making all this money, right? He's making all this money. He's getting all this attention. We're talking about him. Take the camera around, look at your life. Is he checking on you? Is any of his people calling you, asking you how you're doing? Any of these people paying your bills? Are they helping you? Are they providing you any guidance? They don't care about you. They actually benefit from our attention. And this is what I really don't know about this stuff till someone, like, sends me a text, or I see, like, I'll randomly see it, or it comes up. Like, usually it'll come up in like one of my investment checks or something like that, and I'll see it, and then it's just like there. But, like, I don't know, man. I think we all have bigger issues to deal with than be worried about this guy who doesn't care about any of us who are listening to any of these episodes or these shows, this commentary. So just being honest about
Yeah. I mean, that's the
that's
way to sum it up. Honestly, that makes sense. So that brings me to the next point. Well, learning from controversy, man. Maybe sometimes it may take these certain situations to happen on a mainstream scale, so other people can actually learn from other people's mistakes. And maybe even that person, can learn from their own mistakes,
yeah,
identify some gaps in policies and practices that may need to occur. So these type of things don't happen again. Like we had on a previous episode, we spoke on about, with me asking you a question about the direction of, I believe I was talking about the direction of AI. And I was talking about, in regard of asking you a question, man, I was talking about, do you think in the future, with social media and stuff, like, will there be like some type of AI that would get in the middle of this and be like, are you sure you want to post this? Like, and give you like a whole, like, disclaimer as far as like what could possibly happen and all of this stuff, just to let you know the consequences of what could happen, before you actually click again on that button and be like, all right, whatever, and then just click it. But hey, at least they said they didn't warn you, you know what I'm saying? So I
yeah,
still think that kind of
yeah.
stuff is necessary, but at the same time, it shouldn't take all that, right? But
Guardrails.
but learning from controversy, this is how those kind of things may occur. Like, that's how guardrails, guidelines, and policies happen. If something bad didn't happen at your job where someone had a slip and fall in the store, there wouldn't be no policy for workers' comp. So think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. That there is something to, like, there's something to learn. Like, there's something to learn from some of these circumstances, that when you see the controversy, but most people aren't looking at it through that lens. They're looking at it through the
Right.
lens of it's entertainment. So that's really the thing, is that people are just like, they just commenting because it's entertaining. Like, there's some people you're like, man, like, this messed up. Like, I hope he does something about it. But man, I don't know this man. Like, I don't know him. There's no way I can reach him or get in contact with him. Seems like he got a lot of people in his corner that are helping him. So the most I could do is get on a social media account and be like, hey man, this is what I think you should do. Blah, 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 blah. See it done. Now I gotta move on to my own stuff. That's 2 minutes of my life. I'm moving on now to help the actual people that I know, and try to continue to make stuff for people that actually will listen, maybe perhaps, to what we're trying to share here. So I think it's just a It's an allocation of energy and time and just understanding that some situations you look at, you do what you can, but then you have to move on instead of just kind of being fixated on it. But take the lesson. Like you can definitely there's a space to take the lesson because there's always something that somebody did. But the social media piece, that's a whole nother thing, man. There's not enough time for that.
It was
But
just
the
an example, man.
the impulsivity of what the fact that those safeguards aren't on social media is why it does so well too. So because it rewards impulsivity. Because even like I see people put some crazy tweets, it's like, wow, this person didn't think before they posted this. But that thing blows up. It blows up because it's so controversial. And that's the thing. That's what makes it viral is that it, it kind of it conflicts. It's like polarizing, pretty much. So it's a game.
Shock value.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You said it best, Joe.
So I guess the last thing to speak on, man, and then we'll just end this episode, man, is managing controversy. You know, I guess I'll let you start off first, Marcus. If you have anything for managing controversy, like, do you have any tips or do you think there's any specific kind of guidelines or requirements you should take in consideration when it comes to like handling conflicts and issues that may come about?
I think you have to approach everything case by case. If you're out in the streets, just know somebody will find you. Like, doesn't matter. Like, it's just sometimes it's just wrong place, wrong time.
Yep.
And you kind of have to be ready for that. Like, whenever I go out, I have to be prepared that I always say, like, somebody might be recording me or doing something, or like, you got to think like that. Not that I'm doing anything crazy, but, how many times have we watched something and they show us 15 seconds of a clip? And then if we would have saw the 30 seconds before and the 30 seconds after, we would have perceived it completely different. So, if someone got it out for you, they can put something together like that. So I think you have to just be mindful of that. And just just know that some people live like they thrive on drama. They need it. They need it. It's like their life force. So I would say, but if you're someone who likes to be around people who like gets energy from all that, that's kind of a different battle. Because I'm someone who likes to be by myself. So it's I don't know. I think it's just good to be mindful that other people do not always have the best intentions for their plans for you.
Yep.
But also, a lot of this stuff is nonsense. A lot of it is, and there's a lot of time wasted. So just like when you're watching stuff or you're consuming, like when we're consuming these things that maybe people are sending us or we're seeing in our social media feeds, like the questions that you should ask, some of the questions that I ask myself is who benefits from this? Like if I'm not like when I watch a movie, I'm watching it to be entertained. Like I know that's the lens that I'm watching the movie with. But if I'm seeing some other story somewhere else and it's like all this drama that's involved, it's like, well, if I continue to go down this trail, why am I continuing to look at this? It's not helping me. This is just like entertainment. And it's really not doing anything positive. It's really not doing anything. So ask yourself when you're looking at some of this stuff that you see, and some people are kind of bring it, like some people bring it to you, but just kind of ask yourself, like, am I doing this to be entertained? Like, what's your reason for consuming it? Like, really ask yourself that. And who benefits and who's getting paid too? Because our attention is monetized as well. We just don't benefit from it as we maybe should. But I'll kind of leave it there, Joe. I'll let you close it out.
Yeah, man, no problem, man. Like just to end on the managing controversy, it's very effective to have strong leadership wherever it's required, some level of transparency, especially when it's relates to controversy, just to let people know how you feel and where you coming from. There needs to be some form of respectful communication there so things don't get blown out of proportion there, so people don't overstep boundaries. And accountability. So, just as much as you dish it out, you gotta take it, vice versa. So it's a barter system in that sense. So, you can't put all the blame on one side. You gotta put some on yours too. Sometimes it's a situation where you should blame yourself for even allowing yourself to get in that type of situation. And that's my scare in the whole issue with a lot of people. They don't have enough accountability for themselves to be like, man, I shouldn't even been. I had no business being there stirring up these people's event. And but I chose to do that just because, you know, I wanted to make somebody feel uncomfortable. Okay, but what is you doing, bro? It's a cause and effect to that. So by you making somebody uncomfortable at an event, and when things really pop off, who's impacted by that? So, you know, that's how a lot of things happen. That's how a lot of people's lives are lost just because somebody wanted to do something spiteful, and it ends up being something that was intently not for someone else, that was just a standby victim. It happens all the time, man. So just use your head. If you feel unsafe about going somewhere, just don't go. Just don't go. So, yeah. So, yeah, just acknowledge those mistakes and take appropriate actions to address those situations, man. So, in conclusion, controversy is part of society and it will always exist. And it's important to understand and respect diverse perspectives and communicate effectively, uh, balance opinions. So, like, however you can potentially do that, I don't know. Every situation is case by case, but taking account of someone else's opinions, even if you don't necessarily agree with them, that's part of diffusing controversy. So with that being said, don't be afraid of constructive criticism. And I think you could navigate through controversy pretty fine. All right, y'all. Take care.
Yep, Stone.